And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 16 of the Rattle and PK podcast. It's pretty wild that this is already up to episode 16. It feels like it's been going on now forever. But
With a
well,
break.
with a break, yeah. We got this handsome devil on the other end of the screen, Mr. Rattle Pokemon Rattle. So in the last month, anything exciting happened to you? Because I think last time we had this
Oh,
podcast, you are not currently in a lawsuit. Now you are currently in a
oh, I thought
lawsuit.
we were referencing the new game show.
Oh.
But yeah, that and yeah, very lawsuited.
Uh, so let me. I mean, did you kind of expect it was coming? Like, I feel like everyone else expected it was coming, and it seemed like a lot of people had mentioned it in the
Um,
past. Were you expecting it?
yeah, yeah, kind of. I mean, there was a demand letter that I was sent that said that I had to not only remove all the videos, but pay Sean $2.5 million in order to not get sued. So that was pretty reasonable. I don't know. To me, that seems more like blackmail than it does, a demand letter. But
It's already.
maybe he thought I just had a cold hard 2.5 mil to dish out for him.
Let me. You know what the Streisand effect is? You know what that is?
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah. He
ho-
definitely got way more attention by doing that than
yeah, and so for anybody out
he
there who's
prevented.
listening and says, "What the hell's the Streisand effect, and why does that matter?" But pretty much what the Streisand effect is Barbara Streisand had like a photo of her house in some magazine somewheres, and she sued the. I think this is a story. I could be wrong, but she like sued the person that put her photo because she didn't want her photo in the magazine. It was like a more obscure magazine, and then because she sued him, that lawsuit made the Streisand house like super public knowledge, and then next thing you know, everybody knew about it. So they call it the Streisand effect. Before we get into this live a little bit more, I do want to just make it very clear to everybody everything that is said in this podcast, everything that is said by me is my opinion and my opinion only. Everything that is said by Rattle is Rattle's opinions and Rattle's opinions only. Rattle's opinions do not reflect the opinions of my channel. And to be honest with you, sometimes my opinions don't reflect the opinions of this channel. It's just a lot of it is just that opinions. Please take everything with a grain of salt. All the information we are given, when we do believe it to be true, we are giving that information with the facts that are provided to us. There might be facts or information we are missing. We welcome anybody out there that does have those other pieces of information. If you can fill in the gaps, we welcome for you to bring that knowledge. We're going to present everything as we know it. Information can definitely change, but I just got to get that out there because Rattle gets sued. I don't want to get sued, so
No, you don't want to get sued. It's
no.
okay. I'll get sued.
That's right. I got a good
But
lawyer, but not all right. But I do have a good lawyer. Yeah, and then speaking of lawyers, I know Mile High Pokemon. He did a little breakdown of the lawsuit, and in my opinion, based off of his video, it doesn't seem like Sean has much of a case on you right now. And there was some really weird leaps that he took in that lawsuit, in my opinion. Like when he mentioned the Pokeju thing, I didn't.
yeah, it's filled with lies. There's a lot of lies in there. So I don't know if that's like him thinking that he can get away with those like blatant lies that are within that. Like just like stupid, easily provable details, like the time that I called him. Like it was 8 a.m. his time. I was like, okay, I gotta be like, maybe I'm mistaken here. Like I'm not gonna call him at 7 a.m. Like Sean or not. And if I'm gonna call you to see if you want to talk to me, I'm not gonna call you at 7. I'll let you sleep until 8.
Yeah,
He's a businessman, so he should be up at 8, right?
yeah, but I don't know. The Pokeju thing was weird because of all the drama that happened between like their Instagram account, like pretty much calling out the Pokeju, and then there was like a little bit of
Yeah, because
back
he
and
was saying that
forth.
their boxes were like trash, and I mean I think that's a fair assessment.
I mean, and the
And
Pokeju
it's an
isn't
opinion-based
he's
thing.
not
Like,
an unknown person in this hobby. He's a very well known person. He was
right?
showcased in the whole Logan Paul, fake first edition case. He was forefront. Like, everyone knows who the Pokeju is. So it was very, very strange that was in the lawsuit that you know, he was suggesting that you were calling him the Pokechew. That was the one thing that like
Yeah,
really bothered me, and I didn't like that at all because I don't know, in my opinion, it came off weird.
it's pretty snaky,
Yeah, but
in my opinion.
yeah, everything's in my opinion. But
But yeah, I don't know. It's
uh,
ridiculous.
how you doing though? You doing all right?
Yeah, I'll be all right.
Yeah,
Don't
that's
worry.
good.
Got lots of people behind me. Thank you to everyone that's been helping out with that.
Yeah,
It's
and for
hopefully the first and last
yeah,
public display of this, but I mean, it's not the first time that he's threatened people, and I'm sure it wouldn't be the last if this isn't kind of like the end of it.
yeah, and for all the
So
people that have reached out, if you guys don't know, there is I'll link it in this. I didn't think I just copied and pasted the last slide, but I will link the Rattle Go Fund Me if you guys do want to help Rattle out with his legal fees. That will be in the description of this video. I think it's an important cause, but we really touched base about that whole drama on the last video, and I kind of do want to talk a little bit about the Omega Mystery Boxes a little later in this video because that Charizard was pulled, and just kind of have a conversation about that. But before we get into that, dude, you've had a busy month.
oh yeah,
What the hell?
I can't believe it took so long for me to realize that I was in there because I wasn't gonna like bother to pick them up. I was like, no, I gotta save money. I got a lawsuit here. I'm not buying anything. But then like all of a sudden, Waylord in the Discord is like, it shows me the page and it's like mentioning me. I'm like, what the hell? I was in the magazine. That's so cool.
When I went up to the
But
counter, I had because I could only get 3 of them at the first store I went to, and because they didn't have the
mm,
Charmander there, but they had the Pikachu, they had the Bulbasaur, they had the Squirtle, and I went up there and the guy was like, "Wow, these are pretty expensive," because you know I bought formula too, so it was like a $90 bill
yeah,
just for 3 magazines and formula, and the guy was like, "Wow, these are collectible, huh?" And I was like, "Well, my friend's in there, and I've lived a long time, and I've never had a friend who's been mentioned in Time Magazine. Might as well
yeah.
get one of these." So that's
In Time
wild.
magazine, just at a time when I've been still trying to find the Squirtle. I went to a couple places like, oh no, we don't have magazines anymore. No one buys them. I was like,
Oh.
damn it! I'm finally in a magazine and no one buys them anymore.
That is wild, though. I mean, it's such a cool thing.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. It was completely unexpected. They didn't, as far as I know, reach out to me or anything. So,
Yeah. So I read through it. I mean,
uh,
it's pretty watered down, but I mean, it's what you would expect. Like, this is Time
yeah,
Magazine.
yeah,
This
yeah.
goes out to the masses. This doesn't go out to deep down the rabbit hole type stuff. So,
Yeah, it lacks the follow up to the Logan Paul. I noticed there's a lot of that. A lot of people watch the Logan Paul stuff, but they don't realize that it kind of goes into Logan Paul was likely involved in all of it, in my opinion,
yeah.
and all of them that were with the fake case going on. Liquid. Oh, I mean, there's pretty solid evidence that the fake case was going on Liquid Marketplace. That the $3.5 million sale was fake, according to Shine, who was part of that $3.5 million sale.
Hold,
I got him on the phone saying it.
hold on. Time out real quick. So, Billy and Rubik's, Billy just messaged in the chat. She says, PK, I was published in Time. You now have 2 friends that were in Time Magazine. So, I did not. Is that true? Was Billy really in Time?
But do
She
you have
probably
a
was.
copy? She says that she was, but she hasn't shown it to me yet.
Okay. See that?
What
I
the
got 2
asshole?
friends in Time Magazine. That I'm going places. Who would have thought, you know? But another thing I want to kind of touch base on you a little bit. So this is like super new information, and shout out to Swole Pokin. If you guys aren't familiar with what we're about to talk about, I did put a community post up a little earlier today with the photos, but it does appear that potentially a first edition Charizard in a PSA 10 was potentially trimmed and graded by PSA. Now, I've already heard people start to like, I don't know, make arguments that maybe that this is a factory thing, but in my opinion, it looks very trimmed. And if it is
Yeah,
not trimmed, I'm going to be very honest with everybody. I do not know what a trim card looks like if what I am looking at is not a trim card. Like it, and so I'll give it.
I don't think the corner would come off like that. I don't think there's any like possible way that like it would have an angle like that.
Yeah. So
It's just
you can get one of these. This is not like a quality one. This is like a
oh, you should have
Amazon
went to
cheap.
like an old school or
Yeah, and it
something.
says like I have like all this black marker. I have these like pre-dessert determined lines. If I like cut, this is made for cutting cardboard. This blade's super dull, but you can get a really good paper shredder. Like more than the Amazon special that I use that I've already broken off my handle because I've cut so much cardboard on it. But like you could get a real high quality one, super sharp blade, and you can cut off like very, very small, minuscule amounts of paper. And it appears that whoever did it on the very bottom of the card, they must have had a little edge wear, a little bit of whitening, and it appears they just did like a real fine cut to clean up that card. And if that's the case, man, PSA might be on the line for
That's a lot of money. Because I mean,
hundreds of
like that, there was
thousands.
I had someone told me that it was like in 2022 it sold on PWCC. So they would
Oh,
have to honor like whatever that last price was. Like even if it gets pulled off of wherever it is now, like if someone bought that unknowingly and they're gonna honor it as like an altered card, like to pay the difference on a PSA 10 first edition based Charizard versus whatever an altered version of that would cost. If they even give it back, I'm not sure how that works, but
so if that card sold on PWCC, I mean, PWCC usually has pretty good high res scans. So what I originally thought when I looked at that card, I saw the cert number, I saw the label, I was like, okay. It looked, in my opinion, it looked like somebody had that card. They had it in an old label. They submitted it to PSA in order to get it encapsulated with the newer slab with the newer label. Obviously, the cert number is going to be the same, but the label is going to be newer, and that's just what I thought happened. And then because that card was re-encapsulated, they just took high-res scans of it. Because if you search the card right before, it's a Blastoise first edition in a PSA 10, and the card that was graded right after it was Magic the Gathering Beta. I forget what card it was, like Nightmare. I think that's the name of the card. It was the Nightmare. I'm not super familiar
oh
with
god. So there could
Magic.
be more from that same order. But
Yeah,
like it's back in the no photo days. So
exactly. But the Charizard does have the photo because it was
it was
re-encapsulated, and
reslabbed. Yeah.
so that Blastoise, the one before, and that Magic the Gathering Beta Nightmare card, those are going to have the older PSA labels on it. So,
Uh-huh.
and
I'm gonna
unless
see if
until
I
somebody
can probably
submits
track
it
this
for
down.
re-encapsulation, then they'll take new high res. Real quick, I want to give a shout out to Blasty became a member. Number one mod in the game, Drew dropped 20 memberships, and then Son of a Mewtwo said the sub button doesn't show up on your channel for me. I don't know why. I can't be a member. So he said I'll pay my dues this way. Sadly, if you're an iPhone user, it's hard to find the YouTube channel membership, but you can do it on desktop. I know that's not a great answer, but have you ever came across that, Raul?
For the membership stuff, I know
Yeah.
Twitch is bad for mobile for like the Amazon Prime stuff, but I'm not sure about YouTube. I've been doing enough live stuff, so
You have any lives planned for the future? I know you.
um, I mean, right now like the content is kind of like shifted a little bit away from like spending money. If there is something that I can do that involves like opening product that is going to make money, then I'll do it. But none of the like versus series pack openings or stuff like that. We gotta stray away from those, even though they weren't as bad as they looked necessarily. Those definitely lost a bit of money. The
I
Evolving
did.
Skies stuff.
I did see on your most recent video, Rattle, you did bring back the Officer Jenny cosplay.
People have been asking for it.
That was great, though. It was a nice surprise. So if anybody hasn't watched that most recent video Rattle posted today, he did a game show in the Discord, and he dressed up as Officer Jenny.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And Collector's Cash was like, "Hey, do you want to give some product away?" And I was like, "No, not really. I don't know. I don't really like the like just straight giveaway, like follow giveaway kind of stuff."
Yeah.
So I was like, "But I did have an idea for a game show. If we can run that instead." I was like, "If you want to send over a well, they're sending it directly to, or have already sent it directly to the people that won." So that saves me too, because a lot of people are in the U.S. Shipping from here is a pain.
Yeah.
But but yeah, provided the product. Fun little thing. Little
So
happy hour action.
yeah. So Billy, Cyril, and appreciate you guys being a member for a month, and Son of a Mewtwo just joined the membership. Appreciate you, Son of a Mewtwo. But I, dude, when you well, first of all, how you got sponsored by Collector's Cash, Collector's Cash has just been around for so long. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't even know when did they. I want to say they were selling Pokemon in '99. They've been around since
Hmm.
forever. And then that $10,000 box is one of like the last cheap sales. A lot of people still talk about that $10,000 box, and that was Collector's Cash sold that. So they've got their hands on some pretty big
Yeah, they've
products.
been. I talked to the owner, and he had some wild stories. I was supposed to have like a quick phone call with him, so we're gonna discuss like the game show or whatever. And I don't even know how long it was that I talked to him on the phone for. He bought the Goonies house. So
Really?
he's going to like Goonie conventions or had like Goonie Fest or something like at the Goonies house because he
Oh,
purchased the house. Crazy. Like, so not just like trading cards and stuff like that, but apparently
everything
get
pop
into,
culture, huh?
yeah.
Uh, Amy V, Locos Loc. Appreciate you. Amy's been a member for a month. Local Los Collections. Welcome to the Ride 2 level. But yeah, man. So I guess let me ask you your question on the Charizard. In your opinion, that first edition 10, does it look trim to you?
It looks very trimmed.
I mean,
In my opinion. It's
it,
my opinion.
if
I'm not
that's not
saying that it
trimmed,
is or
what does a
not, but
trim
like,
card look like, though? You know?
no, I don't think there's any way that it looks like that. Like, the debris coming off of it is not helping any, like the little kind of like fuzzy going on where that side is kind of like a crooked cut.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't
And
know. I think it's just like it's the curse of well, it's a curse for all of the people trying to trim cards, but the rounded corners,
yeah,
like
I was just gonna. So the
usually the people that are trimming stuff, they're gonna go for the square cut stuff. They might go for tops if they're doing Pokemon per se,
yeah,
or per se. Like, but but yeah, like the rounded corners, as soon as you like lop off any amount of card,
you could tell
it starts to look weird on the corners because the corners are done last.
exactly.
They
Yeah.
cut it into a rectangle and then the corners get chopped off.
Yeah. No, I was
Therefore,
thinking the same thing. And so if the corners do get done last, like for that cut to happen doesn't really make sense. Even if that card was shifted, it wouldn't.
hmm,
I don't know. It doesn't make sense. Like how it would be possible. Like I'm trying to like work my way around the manufacturing of that card. Obviously, we've seen cards that were miscut, but I don't know. It just seems too off.
it would probably be. I mean, like each individual cut might happen separately, but for like one cut to be off on a different angle than the previous one is just we don't really see that. You can see stuff that's shifted, but it's going to be shifted. The whole card is shifted. It's not necessarily the bottom is got like it looks like there's more taken off of the left hand side than the right. Like they didn't do a straight cut across.
Real quick,
That
Cinnamon
and there's
Mewtwo
like
dropping 20 memberships. Appreciate you, buddy.
that and the fact that the card is kind of shorter than it should be in the
Exactly, right?
case.
It's
So
just
like the case is like it should be filled like pretty much right
pretty much, yeah.
the little spacers or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, it's just way too many things are like yeah. I mean, I have a PSA card. Like there you can shake them a little bit, right? Like you could hear it.
Yeah, but there's a pretty mean gap on that one.
Yeah, it's too much.
Um,
And yeah, it's just I think it's trimmed in my opinion. And if that's the case, dude, PSA is going to have to pay out the value of a PSA 10 Charizard because I don't know what is that card worth altered. I mean, it's still a first edition Charizard. There's still a buyer for it. It's not like
mhm.
it's a $0 card at this point, but how much does it devalue? I mean, you telling me PSA might have to pay out like 100 grand, 200 grand, maybe?
No. What was next to it? The Blastoise and the Magic cards and everything else. Like what else was
This
altered
card
from
was
that same
next to it.
submission or from that same submitter?
Yeah,
That
this
Blastoise.
was the card next to it. I was me, guys.
It
Sorry,
was you?
it was
Oh, no
me.
wonder you broke the handle off of it, cutting too many first
Yeah,
edition base
cutting too
cards
many,
there
just
into tens.
cutting cards like crazy with total velocity.
Yeah.
But no, and then if the next card after that is a Magic the Gathering beta card and a PSA 10, so that Nightmare card, the beta Nightmare, is only a PSA pop 7 in a 10. So when
Was it a
that
10 next to it too?
yeah,
Haven't
so
looked
it's
at
a
it
10
yet.
on both sides. So A Blastoise First Edition 10 is the card right before it.
Hmm.
The and then before that card is another First Edition Charizard, but the Charizard, it's a what is it, like Draphius? I can't remember the different names. It's the one that starts with the D, whatever language that is. So that card's right before the Blastoise.
Rattle Go, like the
Yeah,
French Charizard.
I think it's a French one. So I think it's a French First Edition 10. I could be wrong on that. You could just go look at it.
Yeah.
Then a Blastoise First Edition, a PSA 10. Then that Charizard, which is potentially trimmed, and then the card right after that is Magic the Gathering Beta Nightmare, which is a PSA Pop 7 today. We're talking 2024. The card's had a long time to have a pop higher than 7. So that's a very expensive card.
Yeah. I want to know what those cards look like, and I want to know who submit them.
Yeah. Is there a way to find out who submitted them or no?
So maybe. The only way that we can really find out from PSA, essentially, like PSA would know. They're going to have records that go back and say, like, who submit these cards.
Yeah.
And then whether or not that's somebody that's been banned from PSA already, or whether or not that's, like, somebody that just happened to buy the card raw or whatever. Or maybe it was graded beforehand and they regraded it. So they'd have to look into that stuff. But I think if they have an affidavit or... I don't know. It has to get pretty severe. There has to be kind of like something public, whether or not they need to file a lawsuit against that individual, and or there's some kind of like FBI investigation. Like that's a ton of money that you're dealing with, even in 2015, 16, or whenever those two certs came out.
So
that
I just cut this card literally. It's just an energy card, but I literally just cut it. So with mine. So like a really thin piece, right? And if you look at the back,
it looks the same.
It looks freaking like obviously trust me, my cutter is
yours is dull. Yeah.
It's I cut cardboard with this thing so much that the blade gets hot to the touch. That's how much cardboard I cut with it. It's not a smooth blade, but don't worry about the sharpness of the blade. That's not what's important, but do you see that cut?
Yeah, it kind of does the same thing where it kind of squares off weird instead of being rounded.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
I don't know. It looks just like that. And if you had like a real good cutter, obviously with a good blade, you're not going to cut a, first edition Charizard with some shitty Amazon special paper cutter. You're going to get a good one with a really good blade. But it's fascinating, man.
Yeah, and that's potentially like a scary amount of money. I mean, with the sports card stuff, with the old sports card stuff, outside of like the blowout forums, they kind of do their little investigations where they'll have like before and after pictures, and especially the stuff that's like signed or really limited or numbered or anything like that, they'll have like side by side photos that show like what pieces of the cards got trimmed off, essentially. But the older stuff is extra scary in sports because it wasn't like consistently the same size.
But I'm telling you,
bit of, like leeway for.
When I'm looking at, the more I look at this corner, the more it looks like that photo.
Yeah, it looks like the Charizard because bottom was probably lopped off of it.
Yeah. But I don't know if that's the case. Oh, that's scary. And then it's scary to think, okay, this happened during the 2-cert era, but how many of those cards can maybe exist then? Was this the only card that was ever potentially trimmed? And then...
Hold on, maybe I can... I'm going to put it on my screen.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is the card. So
this is like this is the gap on the top. Swole posted this. He posted it in like an E4 thread, and I was surprised that like no one even kind of reacted to it at all in the thread itself. But like, you see the like massive gap on the top here. But then on the bottom...
Yeah, it's that bottom left corner, super incriminating too.
So like, yeah, like it looks like they accidentally took off too much from this side.
Yep. And like that's what this card that I just cut, it has the same corner now. Like
it has the same derpy corners.
Yeah. Because you just
Okay,
cut off.
I get it. a better picture here. Was it this one that he posted? This one, I think.
But
Oh
oh
yeah, here
yeah,
you can see
oh
like
yeah, you could
there's
even
like some
see how
coming
you
off.
see the cut
So
there.
apparently it was the Amazon one. It was the 2015 Amazon cutter.
I mean, this was probably great in 2015, so that card was worth way less than 2015. I mean, come on, that doesn't look good.
Look at the gap on the bottom there. You
It's
could put a penny in between there.
it's wild how much. Yeah, it. I don't know. Does anybody out there looking at that card and I mean, people are already saying they've got.
Hold on. Hold on. We got another great example here. We'll do show and tell. Trimmed. We need the side by side of a trimmed
Oh,
and not trimmed.
trimmed and I mean with the normal one versus the trim, it's so clear. Like the normal one on the bottom, it's that nice rounded corner, just the way you expect. And then up top where it's trimmed, you can see it. It's like a hard angle right there. There's no rounding to it.
Yeah.
It's like they got really aggressive with how much they trimmed too, you know?
That is kind of like the Pokemon blessing. Like we don't. It probably wasn't intentional that they put rounded corners on it to prevent counterfeiting years
Yeah.
later when this stuff is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars.
But it looks trimmed, in my opinion. Like, I'm just going to let everybody out there know. I feel I can identify a trim card, in my opinion. And if this is not trimmed, then I take that statement back and I cannot identify a trim card because this freaking looks trimmed to me. In my opinion. I'm not a grader, though. But I don't know how. I'm sure PSA looked at that and there it went, uh-oh.
Yeah. Link 2195 says, "What's the benefit of trimming it?" So, typically to trim a card, it doesn't happen often in Pokemon, but if there's damage around the outside of the card, on the edges of the card, they're gonna trim it off to try to get rid of that damage.
Yep.
And make a new edge, essentially.
Yeah, so here's a card right here. Do you see that corner right there? Or that edge where? I don't know. Should I sacrifice a base at Jinx? I feel like there's people out there who
No,
get
just
mad.
do it with an energy. Just create your own damage. Just to clean up the edge, essentially. And or the corners. Like with the corners and stuff like that, it's usually like the sports cards that if they have like a bad corner or if they have bad edges, then they'll lop off the sides of them.
I got a million
Mathis
cards
style,
near me, but energies aren't one.
as he showed in his tutorials. The same Evan Mathis that may or may not be on SeanBassick.com as a testimony to how awesome Sean is.
It's not going to be an energy, but it's going to be whatever this card is. All right. So, like, this is the card. I'm going to scratch up the back a little bit so you can see. It's kind of hard, the damage cards, believe it or not.
It is. It is. Especially in like the wear, because it's more like it's got to be like rubbed around on a table or something.
All right. Do you see right
Like
where
even if you don't get rid of the entirety of that whitening or white edge on there,
you're going to clean
even
it
if
up
you
a
get
lot.
rid of part of it, it's gonna clean it up. Yeah.
So can you see right there where the tip of my screwdriver is, that little whitening? And this is the card. So.
Lop it off. Or you should have done it on the bottom to simulate the Zard.
So, here's the same card. Do you remember where I lopped it? It's gone.
But now your corners are jank.
Oh, yeah, but now the corner. So look at the corner now. You see how it's got that? You see right there?
Squariness. But the squariness is not going to be on the other side.
And this is how much was just lopped off of that. So ideally, though, I mean, you can pass this to an average collector. They're not going to be able to pick that up.
No. But I mean, if you put that in
is-
a stack of cards, you're going to see the difference in size of the card. The size of the card is very consistent.
Yeah. So
It always has been. I mean, there's like the perfect fit sleeves are like an example. If you take a perfect fit sleeve and try to put that on that, it's just gonna have like a little bit of
So now when
play in the side.
I got two cards. So when I put that card against a card, there's almost, I mean, you can see it. Oh, you could see.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to tell.
And then when it's in a PSA case, you're gonna see that that would go left to
Yeah.
right
So you can
way
see I
more than it
can
should.
pull this card now, like just by, I mean, it's not much cut off though, right? So it's hard to tell. Like if from a distance, you can't tell, but you can feel it with my finger. That's why I could easily bring this one back. But
Yeah, if it was in like a card saver and like or like a penny sleeve card saver top loader, whatever, you don't really pay attention.
like that's the thing, right? Like this is, what is this? A Flittle? A Flittle? That's the name of a Pokemon now. Flittle. This
not
is
the
the card that
Flittle.
was trimmed. Imagine if this was a first edition Charizard that is now graded a PSA 10 because I did that. And it's a good condition Charizard, but it was probably a 9. It probably had bottom edge wear.
Yeah, it might have had a chip or a dent or a little
Yeah.
thing on the bottom.
And
A
it
white
wasn't bad.
spot.
It was enough to keep it from a 10, though. And so they said, well, I'm going to do a little choppy chop chop.
Yeah, and I mean, 2015, even 2015, the difference between a 9 and 10 was like huge.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're talking the highest
I
end
mean,
of the
it's always,
hobby in a
it's always been
Charizard.
huge. Yeah.
But, and
That was back when no one cared about nines.
you know, and I just cut this little strand off with my Amazon. It's like a 10 sheet cutter or something because it's made to cut cardboard. So I cut all these pieces. So like I just have stacks of these because when I ship out my graded cards, I'm too cheap to put them in like a small bubble mailer. So I just cut a bunch of cardboard, and with this thing, I could cut so fast because I'm just so used to it. Just as fast as I could put the cardboard in, and as fast as my arm could just go up and down. I'm like bam, 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 and I trust me, fucking cut a shitload of cardboard. Like my most recent cuts were like I'll show you.
Are you doing it for like shipping reasons?
Oh, they're
Or
all
you just
shipping.
gonna
So this
cut
is
them
what
down?
I cut today. It was a box of my kids'
Like,
diapers,
I meant,
gloves.
are you shipping out with them?
No, so the way I ship a graded slab is, so like here's the slab, here's the Blastoise that was graded before that Charizard. I just put 2 pieces of cardboard around the card, a little tape, painter's tape on all 4 sides, and then I stick it in a bubble mailer, slap a label on it, ship it out.
Sam Chibi sent me these. It's like, oh, I guess we can't see the green on it, but it's like a little cardboard, like
Yeah,
hard envelope.
That's too
Like,
much.
those are sick.
Yeah. So.
But if they're like the same price as a top loader, like you can fit like quite a few cards in them.
Yeah.
Smart guard, not
So
sponsored.
My shipping station's right here, and it's just like I got 3 stacks of those, and they're pretty high up.
Cardboards.
Yeah, and it's
it
just-
wouldn't work for like graded cards, but like for singles or whatever, I thought it was pretty nifty.
Yeah.
And if they're less expensive than a top loader, then maybe that works. I don't know if you put all kinds of eBay branding on it, unless eBay's sending them out for free. That'd be pretty cool.
So is Fargus Funhouse, is that Dylan? But Fargus, I appreciate you joining the Ride
Yes.
membership and dropped it to
So.
10 memberships. Is that Dylan?
It's got to be, right?
It's got to be. Appreciate though, bud. What are you drinking tonight there, Mr. Rattle? It's been a while since we just hung out, drank some beers together.
Moosehead Canadian Lager.
Oh my god. You just I didn't even know that beer existed, but if you said PK, make up the most Canadian beer ever, I would be like, all right, we're going to put a moose on the can, we're going to put Canada on it, and we're going to call
There's
it a
also
lager.
hockey team. There's a hockey team called the Mooseheads.
That's funny.
But yeah, it was in between that or Alexander Keith's, which is like an India PLL from Nova Scotia.
But
That was on the list today. I went to the a different store that had a pretty limited selection. So,
are you a huge hockey fan because you're just, is it in your blood at this point because you're a Canadian?
I used to be like I played hockey all growing up and everything, but I don't know. I kind of lost interest or stopped watching. It's not really the same game as it used to be. And I know it's still like maybe the skill level and the speed and everything else is better than what it was, but I don't know. I miss the old like hockey fights and big hits and ridiculous stuff like brawls and things that just don't happen anymore. It
So
was more than just kind of the standard stuff.
yeah. Elijah, appreciate the five gifted memberships. So when those photos of the Charizard came out, so like the first person I text was Rusty. I messaged it to you to see if you saw it. I messaged Rusty. I messaged CTR just to see if they saw it. And Rusty goes to me through text. He's like, as soon as I saw that, I immediately stopped what I was doing and went and checked my cert on his card. Like, he just stopped everything he was doing and just went and checked his cert number because he was like, oh man. Cyril, appreciate the membership, dropping the 10 memberships. Billy and Rubik's dropping the 5 memberships. All you guys are too nice, man. But isn't that funny that he just went and checked his card personally? Did you get a chance, Rattle, to watch Rusty's, like, I forget what he called it. It's like my top 10 most expensive cards or whatever. And then
yeah, I think that was a while back though, right? It was like maybe a few months ago. Yeah.
That was a wild video.
And then it ended up being more than 10 cards.
Oh, yeah. It was just like... he does have a Shadowless Raichu and a 10. I didn't know that. So I'm a little jelly.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, one day.
You'll get one. That 8 was going to be a 10 next time.
Yeah, I've already cracked it once.
Now that you know the technique with the haggard ass Amazon cutter.
Well, I sent that submission out today. I should have just trimmed it. I don't know what I'm thinking because clearly don't do that. Please don't trim cards.
Don't trim cards.
But it was an 8.
Polish them. Don't trim them. Don't anything.
Yeah. So I originally picked that card up as an 8. The Shadowless Raichu. If you guys didn't watch my most recent live, I did like a little order. I cracked it. It was an 8. I resubmitted it at the $40 tier, hoping that the higher tier would be like, oh, okay, they'll give me a 9. They didn't. So now I'm resubmitting it at bulk, and I'm just going to have to rinse and repeat that baby a few times until it hits a 9.
Okay. Did you see that Beckett interview? The one that I kind of like highlighted, but
bro,
if anyone is really interested, watch that in its entirety because they go into like more detail than I should.
Because that was wild. Give everybody a little rundown on that because when
I've seen they got contacted by somebody that was involved. It looks very real. So the rundown basically is ex-Beckett employee. And now, like, a lot of the stuff that he's talking about is kind of like hearsay. Like, he doesn't necessarily witness a lot of that stuff. But, I mean, a lot of it, he graded his dad's cards.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing in the process that you're like, hey, sorry, can't do these. Someone else has to take this order. It's my dad's cards. No, you just graded his dad's cards. Like, that's unreal. And then, not to mention the fact that there was the guy with the black labels, just the insane amount of black labels that worked for Leaf. All of a sudden, like, there's a story that emerges that everyone thought he was like an ex-employee of Beckett that got these black labels. But this guy is saying, essentially, that the word was there, that this guy got to go in and grade his own cards. And this guy had more black labels. The only person that had more black labels than him was the company that he was working for, Leaf. Like, it's insane. So he just went in casual, give myself 180 black labels on the weekend or whatever. Like, insane. The amount of money that would have been there. Like, just...
yeah. I mean... That was a wild interview. Even half the stuff he was saying was real. Yeah. I do get nervous because there wasn't a real name to it. Wasn't the real face to it, but...
I figured out who it was, but...
Oh, did you? See, he said some stuff during the interview where if Becca watched it, one of the things he mentioned was his entire time there, he gave like 2 black labels out throughout an entire year. And I was like, dude, you're kind of like painting a target on your back if that's the case.
Yeah, but I mean, back then, like, it was probably that hard. Like, only, and I don't like to be like the guy I don't grade. So I'm just from the outside, from what I've seen, It seems like the black labels have kind of been appearing more often
Oh yeah.
than older Beckett, whatever you want to call it. Maybe it's the same thing with like a CGC that like, okay, if we're not giving good grades or if they're not good enough, people are not going to want to grade with us. So we got to kind of, sweeten the deal a little bit or change our grading scale a little bit.
Yeah. So I've
But
now.
oh, the Pokemon thing was the wildest though. They had one person doing all the Pokemon, and they were paying them the wages of like the entry level grader that's supposed to have their work checked and wasn't.
Yeah. Can
So
you
this guy
imagine?
would have known. Like he could have been like, "I'm sending Pokemon stuff in, just gonna slip this guy some money because I know who's doing it because he's doing all of it."
Can you imagine though? Like you, I don't. I don't know. Beckett's always been this like weird company, and I've told you this. Like I think in public or private, Beckett always felt like a company that only had like three employees. One
So that
person.
lines up perfectly with the with the one person for
Yeah,
Pokemon.
well, true. If they had one person grading, oh, that's what it felt like. It was like
Yeah.
one guy does all the shipping and receiving, one guy does all the grading, and then one guy does something else, and then on occasion they'll answer an email like 7 months after the fact. That's what Beckett always felt like, but obviously Beckett
I
has a
mean, it's
lot
still
more.
kind of like that. Anytime something's lost or like there's like insurance or whatever through the mail, like there's no answer.
Mm,
It seems to be like the common thing. Like, or maybe somebody gets an answer right away, but it's just coincidence that they open that email. Like, but yeah, I'm sure it wasn't. I'm sure they had more during the pandemic, and I'm sure they have more Pokemon graders now than they did at
but
that point. Hopefully, but like, you got to remember, like before the pandemic, before that stuff, like people weren't sending to random companies. They were sending it to PSA. The only reason that they started sending it to the other companies, to your CGC and your BGS and stuff like that, was because they couldn't get their cards back. It was a year plus. It was more expensive. It was basically not taking submissions. It was all of that.
yeah,
And then like go back a little bit further, and it was like, what the hell? You're grading cards and you're not grading them to get tens, or you're not grading them to get tens and WotC stuff. Like that was essentially like E4 years, a few years prior to the
yeah,
pandemic was like tens, WotC tens, base set tens, other WotC tens. Yeah, okay.
yeah. So
But
I
we're
sent.
gold.
I probably sent about 100 and like 125 cards, probably the Beckett now through the ZNG consignment service that he had, which he no longer offers because people like me, we helped destroy that service. But
Yeah.
I didn't get a single black label, and I sent pretty much 100% Chinese print quality cards, like the brand new print quality Chinese cards. Fan favorite Pokemon, Charizards, Pikachu, stuff like that. And I got a shitload of the gold tens, zero of the black labels. And for Beckett, gold label tens don't mean anything unless it's WotC. It's black label or bust for all this modern stuff. So it wasn't even able to like recoup grading fees if you hit a 10. Well, 10 you did okay. 9 fives, shit. Nines, forget about it. Like,
Especially if it's like,
uh,
yeah, because you're making it pretty obscure there. You got the Chinese print obscurity, and then you have Beckett obscurity. So like you're kind of narrowing down how many collectors are gonna want to
yeah, it was
be
black
shopping
label or
for that
bust.
stuff.
But speaking of grading, what's going on with PSA and signature? Do you know anything about
I'm
like
gonna have a
that?
video about that. It's a little bit of a mess. It seems like it's so I had a video on it. Their signature authenticator individual who was also involved with events to get those artists to show up at events, do signings and stuff like that. Decided it was a good idea to chop up the shipping documents or something similar to that and take those signatures and make custom cards and then bring them to work and have them graded by whoever else that he was probably a superior to. And from what I heard, allegedly he got fired for doing that because it upset the artists. Like clearly they don't, they're pretty, a lot of them are very like sentimental, or they're very like they think it means something, like someone should get a signature, whatever. Like, so the last thing you want to do is like double cross them and cutting up like shipping documents if you're shipping stuff to or from them. and you cut out their name on it and you put it on a trading card, like a bootleg trading card, it's gonna make them mad.
Hold on. So this
It's gonna
was the
upset them.
shipping papers to and from PSA, like the artist was.
No, not to PSA. It was like to and from. I don't know what the shipping document was that was signed, but it wasn't meant to be a signature for someone.
Gotcha.
It was meant to be a like a shipping document or a document that they signed for something.
Oh, and then they
So
just
this
checked.
individual, I don't know if it was like a contract or if it was like shipping papers, but it was something along those lines because this individual was allegedly working for the events to bring these artists to the events.
Oh, okay.
So whatever was going back and forth in terms of shipping stuff or signing stuff, it was something that was cut out there. Then he created a special card, special counterfeit Pokemon card, unlicensed Pokemon card, whatever you want to call it. And he was doing this with like some of the other stuff too. So he was kind of exploiting something that I think shouldn't even exist at PSA, which is we're going to authenticate signatures only and put it in a slab. It doesn't matter if it's a counterfeit card. It doesn't matter if it's a unlicensed card, whatever it is. If it's signed, they were here you go. Authenticated. Same label, it would say card at the top instead of like Pokemon trading card game or something like that. Which is confusing. It was confusing for me. I think Rusty bought something like that was cut. It said cut at the top because it was a cutout thing that it's just dumb. There's just no reason for it. Like the niche market that requires that or that would want that is not worth like tarnishing your name,
Yeah.
grading something that's counterfeit.
Yeah, because the cut, a lot of people originally took cut to mean custom and not like signature cut. It was a weird.
Yeah, it's a whole weird thing. But then it got even worse there were some sports cards that were being sold on Golden, which is kind of in under the same umbrella, collector's umbrella as PSA. So these cards were being sold as listed as the real thing, but they were counterfeit baseball cards. I think they were baseball cards. They were pretty sure they were baseball cards. They were counterfeit baseball cards. They were like a replica of the real thing that were signed, but then they were authenticated because of the signature. But no one could really tell. Even Golden, who's under the same umbrella, collector's umbrella as PSA. So if Golden can't tell, how is like the average collector supposed to tell, and how is the newbie collector supposed to tell that that's a fake card that's in there that's signed?
So the
So like people
slab
were
said
clearly
authentic.
exploiting.
Oh yeah, that would be super confusing.
Yeah.
That
So it
would
was a
be.
fake. It was a counterfeit card. We like getting an Etsy Charizard signed by Arita,
Yeah, yeah.
and they would slap it.
And put authentic on it.
Yeah.
Oh
But it
yeah.
would be authentic signature. It would say like card at the top, not counterfeit card or anything like that. It would just say card.
Card and then authentic. Oh yeah, that's super confusing, dude.
Yeah,
That's so confusing.
yeah. Like
Oh.
I had no idea that the thing even existed. Like most people probably didn't. Like you have to be so deep down the rabbit hole to know the difference between that stuff. And like for the sake of like who's sending that stuff in that isn't trying to exploit something.
Dude, I'm getting. Are people getting ads right now? I get pop ups on my screen that says ads inserted. What the fuck does that even mean?
Maybe there's that.
Yeah, I.
Oh,
Uh,
you might have to turn them on to like manual or whatever.
yeah, I just. Oh, dude, a lot of people have been commenting lately saying that ads have gotten a lot worse on my YouTube videos. So I did go back and I like took them off of a lot of
Uh,
videos, but I'm not putting them on. YouTube does that shit automatically now.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I think there's like for the lives there's certain settings that you can have them so often or you can have them so that while you're live there's a button that you hit to run the ad. So if you have to do a bathroom break or
yeah,
whatever, you can toss them on or
yeah. So I'm shutting all that stuff off now. So as you shouldn't get any if you do.
yeah. But I mean, I don't know, do the channel members on YouTube not get ads? They might not.
Yeah.
I don't know if they do or not. Twitch is if you're a channel member, you don't get or a subscriber, or if you don't have ad block.
But oh, so you just mentioned Golden Auctions. Speaking of old Ken Golden, did you watch one of my more recent videos with the old Ken Golden shop at home video with
Yes.
the Neo premium files.
It's this is so ridiculous, man. The
Like,
double down on the snake oil is just ridiculous. He's just got a gallon of it and he's pouring it all over you.
you almost in a weird way have to like respect him because of how
Mm.
ridiculous it is. I mean, it's like that scene from, what is it, the scene from Billy Madison? He's like, at no point during your entire rambling was your answer even close to being correct. And thanks to you, everyone in this room is now stupider thanks to listening to that. Like, that was
That
what
was
I felt watching it. It's just,
that was just a scam back then. That was the trick somebody into buying something that you're tricking them into thinking that it's special and it's really not.
yeah. But he said the
Uh,
one number, he goes, in order to grade this yourself, that is 1,000 to the ninth power. That's a 1 with 27 zeros after it. Like, do people
yeah.
know how big of a number that is?
Yeah, I don't know, just complete making up shit. He's maybe not my biggest fan. Recently with the video that I put out where he bid on a fake someone made a post on Twitter. They said they pulled a Charizard, like a first edition base Charizard, and it was painfully fake. And he in the replies puts like, "Oh yeah, you should contact me. We can get it graded by PSA and you can sell it on my auction house." Like, oh no, Ken, just look at the card for 3 seconds. Jesus Christ.
That is what that number looks like. If anybody I ran out of room and I had to add another. That's what a 1 with 27 zeros looks like. It's 1 out of 1 octillion. That's that number, octillion. I added that to my vocabulary thanks to Ken Golden.
The octillionaire.
Uh,
Good. Yeah. I
oh,
don't know.
ironically, this wasn't supposed to be, but
It's collector's
this
sheet.
isn't actually true. It's not copyright by collectors. That is just old paper that I cut.
Octillion copyright collectors.
So
Oh, good.
so if anybody knows, it
Yeah,
should have been like that.
Okay, and look at that in comparison to like the collectibles guru nonsense, like
Oh.
with the friggin' Bulbasaur. Can you imagine that puts the Bulbasaur to shame?
Yeah. I'm going to be honest with you. I miss the collectible guru hype. I miss those type of people. I know they're not really in the hobby anymore, but there's a small part of me, Rattle. I miss it because of how entertainingly ridiculous those type of people
Oh
were,
my god!
you know?
If I could go back in time right now, I could. Oh my god! I could just clean house.
Mm.
Even if I didn't have advance notice, if I just had my current Pokemon investor or investigative skills, I could just used to sniffing out these like scams and ridiculous stuff.
I miss it though. It's a time capsule. This
It
hobby
was
was like that 2020 hype dog shit. Like,
there was only one short period that I was like, my god, I need a break from Pokemon. And it was right then when like anytime you ever seen anything, it was all of the talk was that like this doubled in price, this doubled in price, this doubled in price. And I was just like, my god, I'm so sick and tired of like hearing about like the prices that went up. Like, and it's not that like I didn't have cards and my cards were going up in value. It was just like, my god, can we just talk about like Pokemon, but not the prices just skyrocketing, please?
yeah.
But I don't know. You just got to move into like a different area. There's lots of different Pokemon stuff to talk about or enjoy. Just
You had to move out of like Watts or early Watsy, and then you had to move out of modern. If you moved out of modern and you moved out of early and Watsy, those were the things at the time nobody was really putting eyes on. So you can still do a little work there, but yeah, early Watsy, there was too many. Oh, first edition, forget about it. Like first edition base was preposterous, and then super modern stuff. At the time of Vivid Voltage, $200+ booster boxes. Like you couldn't do super modern. You couldn't do like early Watsy. Diamond and pearl, black and white, none of that shit. It took people a long time to get there. I mean, prices were inflated, but they weren't what they ended up being. So, Fargus, appreciate you dropping 5 more channel memberships.
Yeah, with that stuff, my scale, I guess like my re-entry point on a lot of that stuff that I was missing was basically like go back and look at the chart. Like go to PokemonPrice.com and go look at the chart and just like follow. You get the like nice little gradual increase.
Yep.
Then you get the crazy spikes. And then like, okay, once it comes down to
Yeah.
where it should have been from the gradual,
Yep.
there, that seems safe. That seems good.
Yeah. Like, yeah. I mean, that's just what it is. Like this is what like a healthy market chart looks like. It just kind of like you got your ups and downs with your sales, but it's like a gradual increase. What fucking 2020 was like this. So
Yeah.
we were down here, and then we were just shove a rocket up your fucking ass, and then everybody was up
Yeah.
here, and then it
Certain
dropped
stuff
down.
like
But if you see where it dropped down to, if you draw a line, so if you draw a line from where it drops, that line is still way above where we were. So we're still way above, when you look at this line. So like this is where we were, but the problem is we're far away from there. So people will quote that and they'll think like, oh, everything's crashing and burning, but it's like things aren't crashing and burning because this is where we were and we were still doing this here. We are doing this slow, gradual uphill, and that's where this point right at the end, this is right here. We are still pretty good, so I don't know.
Yeah, as long as he didn't buy at the peak. I just stopped buying anything vintage like whatsoever at that point. I was like, okay, we're gonna bank on the fact that it's gonna come back down. Not sustainable whatsoever.
Yeah.
But
Oh.
I mean, there's still gonna be like a price increase. There's still gonna be people that were there that joined during the pandemic that are gonna stick around, but like a large portion of those people are not. I mean, regardless, anyone that enters into Pokemon is only going to be typically in the hobby for a certain amount of time, maybe a year,
Yeah.
from most of the people that I've seen. But
But
when the interest, when it's not necessarily like, not that there is some like genuine interest, but I feel like there was way more financial interest or like you're gonna jump on whatever everyone else is jumping on kind of thing. I feel like the fall off on that is going to be a lot sharper. But still, we'll probably end up with more collectors now than what we had. But
yeah, you think what would it take for a catalyst to bring us back? And this is a question I've asked on other videos because I would say before pandemic, you might have said like that sort of event's not possible, right? And then obviously it took COVID, everybody to be locked at home, like kind of a perfect timing. What would it take to see the exact same scenario happen? Because I feel like in 2018 you would have said it's not possible, right?
Pokemon Go kind of did like, it wasn't the pandemic, but there was a pretty good like bump there. There was a pretty big entry point. But like something big like that, maybe not as big as like the COVID stuff and the money getting dumped into it, but I feel like it kind of snowballed because it wasn't like how many people were in it and buying it and then more active and getting other people into it because like if there's money to be made and then also with crypto and then also with just everything driving it, like, oh, everything goes up and everyone piles on. So maybe it just has to hit a certain breaking point and then it does the same thing.
Oh, that's an interesting way to put it. So there's like a break point to it, huh?
Where it's just like a snowball effect kind of thing. Like it's just like, okay, once. I mean, it takes quite a bit. Clearly, it's not just like Scarlet and Violet came out or something like that. But
I was just I was hoping while I was watching the Super Bowl, I was hoping they were gonna pan up to Taylor Swift and her and her friends, and they're just gonna have, a box of base set in front of them,
Yeah.
and they're just gonna be ripping packs on the Super Bowl, and I would
Oh
have been
god.
like, all right, I would have told my wife, I would have been like, all right, baby, we made it. It's easy sailing from here on out. We're good. We got nothing to worry about. Money's not even an issue anymore. So
Yeah.
that's what it would take, though. People always say like, they talk about Logan Paul. I mean, he had an impact. It wasn't the end all be all. It didn't start and end with Logan Paul. He was a part of
No.
it. But
I mean, he hopped on because of the snowball was already
yeah,
rolling.
yeah, and he hopped
It
on
was
at a
it
good
was
time.
already going to
His
happen. Like
timing
there
was really
wasn't a
good.
Logan. Yeah.
But
There wasn't a Logan Paul and other stuff that went up and other collectibles. There wasn't. It was the Logan Paul for video games and
but
everything else that skyrocketed.
but if we get the T Swift base set booster box break, I need a T Swift Skyridge booster box break because that's where all my cards are positioned.
I
So T Swift, if you can open up some Skyridge, you really do me a favor. But
I don't know. I feel like she would have been in already if she
what
was a Pokemon fan.
if
I don't know if there's ever been anything Taylor Swift Pokemon related at any point, but if she kind of avoided Pokemon throughout the whole hype of Pokemon and that's the thing too, like the snowball was real when every creator, like all these Twitch streamers that never do Pokemon anything were
yeah.
doing box breaks and everything else. They were all getting in on it. They were doing it together. There's a lot of vintage product that got open.
Oh yeah,
Like,
even like the Miskiffs and all those people, they were all
yeah.
yeah. No, it was a compounding effect of just across multiple platforms, multiple people, everybody locked in at home. And it also worked out that people were coming of age too in Pokemon. And I know you've probably heard me talk about this, but I talk about Pokemon as coming to age, and people are like, that doesn't make sense because Pokemon's a kid's game, but it does make sense because you grow out of Pokemon. Probably
Hmm.
everybody at home watching this, there's very, very few people stuck with it, meaning they played Pokemon in 99 and they never got out. Most people, they played in 99, you were big in base set jungle fossil. Maybe you made it to base set 2, Team Rocket. Maybe you got real lucky, made it to like the Neos. That's pretty much the extent of most people's stories. And then they went to middle school, they went to high school, they started chasing girls, they went to college, and then next thing you know, they rediscovered Pokemon, whether they rediscovered Pokemon in 2010, 2015, or 2020. Eventually, you rediscover Pokemon, and one of the reasons you grow out of Pokemon is because as a kid, Pokemon is a kid's game and maybe it stops being cool. Like when you're a freshman in high school, maybe, and at least when I was a freshman in high school, like early 2000s, nobody was really talking about Pokemon, at least not the way we talk about it. So then, because it's not cool, you don't want to do it. But as you get older, you stop giving a fuck what other people think about it. And then you get to a point where you stop caring, but then you care about it so much that people around you start to think like, wow, Pokemon is really cool again. Like even the people that my friends that I grew up with, my friends that me and my wife get together with and hang out with and stuff, they know I do Pokemon. They don't know the exact extent of it. I don't think anybody really knows the exact extent with the exception of you guys and my wife, but they think it's cool. They don't understand it.
Mm.
But then it gets to kind of be socially acceptable again. And the
Yeah.
saddest
I
part
think
and the thing I hate most about the story about it being socially acceptable is it becomes socially acceptable, and I hate to say this but it's the truth, is because people they catch wind a little bit about like, how much did you sell on eBay? Wait, how much is that card worth? How much is your collection worth?
mhm.
And it's because of that monetary value of your collection, it becomes in a way socially acceptable. Because if you got six figures worth of stuff, or a lot of people out there have way more, some people are,
Was that an
seven
applesauce six
figures.
figures?
What?
Was that an applesauce six figures?
I don't know what that means.
That's 38,000.
Oh, yeah. It was a lot of people have 38,000 worth of cards. But, your friends start to hear about that stuff and they're like, then it becomes more socially acceptable because they see it as like, but then they don't understand it either, you know?
Mm.
And then they're like, oh,
Well,
I got a binder at home. You think we could grade my cards or do what? They don't even know what grading is. They're like, are my cards worth all this money? And it's just like, I don't have enough time to fucking explain Pokemon to you right now, you know? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? I know that was a long winded.
I think I think some of it is that like monetary like acceptance, but I think there's also been a lot of nerd stuff is not necessarily nerd stuff anymore. Like people are just like nerd stuff is cool, whether
Yeah.
it's video games, whether it's trading cards, even like Magic the Gathering and stuff like that. Like you got Post Malone playing Magic cards with people. So it's not really like oh dirty nerd. What are you doing over there with your with
Yeah.
your Pokemon cards or your Magic cards or your video games? It's kind of developed itself into something that can be cool. And then there's also like I guess the career aspect of a lot of that stuff that wasn't a thing before. Like you couldn't go online and play video games
True.
to make a living
Yeah.
or sell Pokemon cards to make a living. Well, I mean, like if you had a game store or if you had like a card shop, then yeah, it was a card shop, it was a store or whatever that you could run, but there wasn't really as much of an opportunity or enough of a market, I guess, for anyone to just go and buy and sell stuff online. And so I think just like with the times changing, nerd stuff being there's a lot of factors that kind of go into it, but
Yeah. Well,
I see what you're saying with the money aspect is
well,
definitely
yeah, and the thing too is when people, well, they'll come down and like, I'll show my friends once in a while the area. And I've showed you before we went live, like, you look that way. It's a dungeon. You look that way. I mean, it's not clean. Everybody always thinks, like, oh, PK, do a fucking collection tour. And it's like, no, it doesn't look good. Like, this is nice. This is very, like, manicured. This is made to look nice. So, but when my friends come and they look at this, like, they're always, you could see it in their face. One, they kind of look at it like, how is, my friends don't call me PK, but they're like, how is John getting away with like doing all this, But you can kind of see it in their face, like they're in a way, like maybe a little, I guess you call it like jealous, right? Because
yeah.
this, if you use one word for this, like what is this? This is freedom, right? And it sounds super weird to say, but why would you use the word freedom? It's like this is freedom because this is me doing whatever the fuck I want, Like, people don't realize that. Like, most adults, they don't have this
Yeah.
freedom to spend stupid amounts of money on Pokemon cards, to buy stupid things from childhoods, you know, to have a N64 there, to have an original PlayStation right there behind you. Like, people don't have freedom like that. That's not a freedom people have. Like, their house is like taken care of by their wife, and their wife is going out to TJ Maxx and buying new blankets. Trust me, that's what the upstairs of my house looks like. My wife,
New blankets.
everything above this is my wife. Like,
It's
I don't
TJ me.
control anything there. Like, we get new couches all the time. We get new tables all the time. Bed frames. My wife's rearranging my kids' room with new shit all the time. I don't get to control any of that. But this is all me. So
Control.
it's freedom. This is all the freedom I have. Like, you take this away from me, I got nothing. I
But I
got
feel like hasn't that always it's always been a thing to some extent with like a man cave.
yeah.
You know, the man cave, whether it has a pool table in it or Pokemon cards or whatever you want. It's like the space that you confine to, where you stay at stay at the fancy rooms.
But like, that's it. I mean, I'm surrounded right now, and it. Do you ever feel like you're a hoarder? I don't feel like I'm a hoarder, so per se, Rattle. Like, I do get value out of the stuff, but I feel like that's how a hoarder would talk too. Like, a hoarder would be like,
Yeah.
Do you ever see the one with like the Chinese lady and her house is like the shit is just piled to the ceiling and she's like, "Oh, these are my pans. This is what I cook with," and they're all ratted. There's like rats running around in the background and she's like, "Ooh, these are all my little things." Sometimes I feel like when I describe stuff, I'm like, I don't know what the difference between me and her is, with the exception of I don't have rats running around my house, and my wife
Not
wouldn't
yet.
let it get to that
You
point. But
have
like,
you have the turtles, but maybe no
yeah,
Splinter yet.
well, yeah, there's no,
Yeah.
there's a splinter behind there. He's
Is there?
yeah. So
Tucked away.
if you if you move
Oh, you got
those,
one behind.
there's another one behind it, and then they're stacked up behind there, like behind the box. So, but yeah, this is my little shelf, and it's so I was on the Rattle Discord the other day, and I went through my Lego instruction manual, and people are like, "Wait, do you have a Lego construction manual collection?" And I was like, "Yes. Do you not have one?" Like there's, and,
I feel.
and you've talked about it before too, and I think it's a great point. Is a lot of people they'll see like the Pokemon, they'll see be like, "Oh, you were successful with Pokemon." They don't see all the other shit you own,
Mhm.
and
That's like the Gary example. That's
yeah,
like the perfect Gary example. Everyone's like, "Oh yeah, like he knew all along that Pokemon was going to be big." Like, well, yeah, he had a lot of other stuff that he enjoyed and collected, and a lot of it was trading cards. But he also had some other stuff from like when he had a game store, and like a lot of that not so expensive or didn't appreciate all that much in value. Not anywhere close to Pokemon, but that's the thing, you can't predict anything like that, especially when something's new. As we've learned from new card games,
yeah, MetaZoo.
they can, yeah,
What did
most card games fail.
Blasty say during that? He was like, "Oh, you got these manuals, but if you don't got Bionicles, nothing you say it means anything." And I just pulled out the
Mm.
giant box of Bionicles, and I'm like, "Oh, don't you challenge me, Blasty? I got everything around me." So
Yeah, he does love a mean Bionicle.
yeah. Giovanni, real quick, I'm looking in the chat. He said, "PK, would you say it's time for a rearrange?" So no. And my biggest issue I have is the height of these things. Like the shelves, because they're boxed, you're limited to like what you could put in. My most recent purchase is the Astro Craig, or what's it called? Astro Craig? How do you say it? From Nickelodeon. Remember you remember Guts, where the kids would like have the competition, they have to run up the giant mountain. It was called the Astro Craig.
No, I don't think we had that.
Oh, it's Nickelodeon. You don't know the Astro Craig from Nickelodeon? So I got one
No,
of
I
the
don't think.
trophies, and that's coming in
You
the
you got
mail.
a trophy from
Yeah, I
that?
got an Astro Craig.
Well, yeah, that's like the game show that I was
Got a
running. I
lot
was
of
kind of
shit,
basing it
man.
off of. I think it's a Canadian game show called Uh-Oh, where there's like the Punisher and he like pours ooze on you if you get the question wrong when you're in the tube.
I
But
don't
like,
remember that one.
but maybe that was like our equivalent. There's probably some because it was on like a Canadian channel called YTV, Youth Television, which was like all like cartoons and stuff like that in Canada.
Never even heard of it, man. You
Channel 19 on
Canadians.
cable, dude. But yeah, it was probably pretty close to some of the stuff that ran in the States. I'm sure they copied a lot of that stuff. But yeah, we didn't really have like Nickelodeon. We had a lot of the cartoons were brought over on different channels, but I'm
What
sure some of the game shows and stuff like that.
besides Pokemon? What's like the? Oh, I know what. Actually, I already know what you collect. You have a ridiculous skateboard collection. I've seen it on
Mm.
the Discord.
You have some skateboards.
You don't have some skateboards. You have a preposterous amount of skateboards. I didn't realize you were that into them. You
Yeah,
have an
they're pretty
entire
cool.
like series of stuff, huh?
Yeah. So they get released or re-released or anything like that, and there's definitely some that are some favorites. But I mean, the skateboarding thing was kind of it's weird because it wasn't necessarily like a nostalgia thing. It was more of a kind of like something that I wish that I would have done more of kind of thing.
So Giovanni said, "How about the jungle obstacle course with teams?" That was Legends of the Hidden Temple. Do you remember Legends of the Hidden Temple at least?
I don't think I watched that show
Uh,
or shows.
Legends of the Hidden Temple. It was another Nickelodeon show.
Was it more like along the lines of like an MXC kind of
No, it was
where
like
like
a
obstacle course like a
yeah, it was like a big obstacle course, like in like a old Aztec like temple, and then like randomly like these Aztec warriors would jump out and like grab you, and then you'd have to give them a piece of your medallion, and you only had so many pieces of your medallion to keep going through. So,
and they need to bring American Gladiators back.
oh yeah, with the tennis balls where they shoot the
We
tennis
had
balls at
that.
people.
Yeah, the tennis balls out of the like the launcher things. You had to like hide behind certain obstacles and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Or these dudes on steroids were shooting tennis balls out of a gun.
it reminded me of the movie Dodgeball, where it's like all the
Yeah.
people's names was like, this is Laser, this is Blazer,
It was
this is
definitely based
also
on that.
Blazer, and Michelle.
Shit.
Dodgeball doesn't get the credit it deserves as being a great movie.
Yeah. No, it's a good movie. I haven't watched it in forever, but
My favorite quote from Dodgeball is, it's like a real subtle one. It's the one where he's like, what's the pirate guy's name? I forget. It's like, whatever, like Pete the Pirate or whatever. He's like, hey, where's Pete the Pirate? And then the one guy's like, who? And he's like, the guy that hangs out with us always dresses up as a pirate. And the guy looks at him, he's like, I have no clue who you're talking about. I love that scene.
oh no, Miles.
I'm sorry, Ryan dragged me up here.
Miles, get out of here. We're trying to have
I
a
don't
podcast.
mean to intrude. I blame Blasty. Blame Blasty!
Steve the Pirate.
Oh, Steve the Pirate, that was his name, yeah. And he's like, who's Steve the Pirate? And then at the end, he comes up, but he doesn't have the pirate outfit on. And then the guy's like, hey, everyone, look, it's Steve the Pirate. Like, and speaking, you don't live in Canada, so you don't have the same tax issues we have. But I've been dealing with taxes like the last month. Just getting everything all ready. And there's a scene from Dodgeball. She's like, where do you keep all your like papers? And he opens the closet and all the shit falls out. Oh boy, everybody at home, this is where everything goes crazy.
I need to make sure that Miles moved himself in here. That had nothing to do with me.
Blast,
Did
you
he
can hang
move
out
the
for a
pirate
little
now?
bit if you want. We're just talking about
No.
Dodgeball. This is where the
Steve the
podcast-
Pirate is a great movie. Dodgeball's a great movie.
Steve the Pirate is not a spin-off movie. It should be.
Blast, you got to turn your
Would've
camera on
been
if you're gonna be
terrible.
hanging out.
Oh yeah.
What are you drinking
my
tonight,
God.
Blasty?
Oh, the hairdo.
Cheers.
Same thing he drinks every night.
Rum.
Pinky.
But you drink white rum. You got to drink spice rum if you're gonna do rum and coke, in my opinion. I can't do clear rum.
White rum.
So
Rum.
I'm gonna come in with it. I'm also gonna be an intelligent conversationalist. That's how it goes here,
What do you
right?
got for us?
Your game show sucked.
I liked it.
I think I'm gonna blame the person that was assisting in the background.
I couldn't tell who was that. I didn't know who was that.
I think you probably just turned it off before the credits were rolling at the end.
By Blasty. How much?
Shout out to Blasty for helping with that.
How much editing? You look like you did a lot of editing for that video.
I did. I actually wanted to put a little bit more into it, but there was a lot of editing that went into that one.
Are you doing all your editing? Because there's one where there was like chain falling at one point of your video,
That was me. I
and I was
stayed up all
listening. I was
night
like, "This
editing
is
that one.
too much."
I should have like decreased the volume on it, but also like at that point in the time, like I don't know when I was adding that. It might have been like 3:00 in the morning, and when I'm like, it was funny to me at the time. I was like, okay, let's just like really overdo it with the change falling for all these like, sub $1 cards that are on here. And so I just went ham on it. And then I was like listening back to it and I was like, I should probably like half the volume on that probably. And then I never went back and did it.
Yeah. So I don't watch the videos because a lot of times I'm just listening. So I was just like at work doing other
Next
stuff,
thing
and
you're
then
like, what
all
the
I hear in
hell?
my ear is just like.
Oh yeah, it was a visual thing. You had to see the TCG player prices coming up for all their like warehouse tour where they're showing all the slabs. It's all these like 10 cent, 25 cent.
Oh yeah, the Omega mystery boxes. All right, do you want to do the Omega mystery box conversation? Because I want to ask you. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
let everybody out there again. This is all my opinion. I always thought that Charizard was in one of the mystery boxes, and anybody who said it wasn't in there just doesn't understand very, very, very simple math. Like, it was you need to have that Charizard be pulled. Like, undoubt, without a question, that Charizard needs to get pulled to like help with the legitimacy of that product. And there's guys like Gem Mint Pokemon swore that card was in the mystery box, and because he said that, I believed it 100%. It was unquestionable after he said that to me. So, but with that said,
I mean,
with that said, I'm just, hey, this is where I'm saying. With that said, the way that Charizard was pulled, is it the best possible scenario? Meaning, if you were to write it on paper, right? Like, you have this old paper with 27 zeros after it, and you're like, okay, if I'm going to put out this product, when is the most ideal possible time that this Charizard gets pulled? This is the way I would break it down. You have your early releases of that product. Before it gets in the hands of anybody, you have to get people to start hyping it up. You got to get people to start talking about it, right? So you got to start giving this away to influencers. You got to get people opening it. But you cannot have an influencer pull this card because, one, if they pull it, everyone might think that the chase is gone because, not my words, their words, that this product isn't made for like the super actively engaged collector. It's more for the average consumer, not the hyper engaged person. That's their words, not mine.
the
I
newbie.
think. Don't quote me on this. That's how I remembered. I could be misquoting it by a little bit, but like that's how I remember them phrasing it similar to that. So you can't have one of these influencers pull it right off the bat because the average consumer, if the hit is pulled, even if you have gold stars and all kinds of other crazy cards in this product, if the hit's gone, the average consumer may have the thought of, I don't want to buy this because the hit's gone. Right?
Yeah.
So then you need these people to hype it up. Then when you run out of this product, then you want that card to be pulled. And if you were getting ready for potentially round 2. Now, looking at CGC's turnaround times, I cannot prove this. This is all speculation. This is my guess. But I'm going to go out on a limb right now and say the reason that CGC's turnaround times are so high, in my opinion, is because they're doing a lot of grading for these mega mystery slab things for round 2. I think that CGC is currently grading the round 2. So they're getting ready for that. Time-wise, this is the most ideal time for that card to be pulled. And you also, in an ideal situation, if you're writing on paperwork, that card needs to get pulled on camera. Has to. Because if it doesn't get pulled on camera, what if whoever pulls it never comes forwards? So then, even though that card is pulled, nobody knows it's pulled. It gets no publicity. So then, when all these mega mystery packs run out, then the mob comes with their torches and they go, what the fuck? No one ever pulled this slab. And then all the haters out there, the haters say, see, I fucking told you. That card was never in there. Because if it was, then it would have been pulled and we would have seen it pulled, or we would have saw somebody sell it. We would have seen it on eBay or PWCC or Golden. We would have seen that card come up for auction. But once that card gets pulled on camera, you don't have to worry about like the one random collector opening it in their room by themselves going, I just pulled the hit, and they put it in their PC and it dies in their PC and it never resurfaces again. You eliminated that by it being pulled on camera. You need that. That is a vital, vital thing for that product. You can't write this shit any better, right?
No. I mean, and I mean, it's number 3. So they had like alpha, beta, and now they're coming out with one. I forget the name of it. When I did my undercover pretending or inquiring about purchasing some boxes, they basically confirmed that their biggest seller has 15% of the print run, or the slab run, or box run, or whatever the hell you want to call it,
Yeah.
remaining, and no one else could fill my order of 50 cases. So like they're right at the end.
They're at the end, yeah. And they're getting
They're right
ready,
at the
it
very end.
seems.
They're getting ready. They said it'd be a couple months out before the next one.
Well, it appears that CGC is currently grading. If anybody out there knows for a fact, because it seems like CGC's turnaround times have gone up pretty crazy recently. And the last time that CGC's turnaround times went up pretty crazy is because the first round of these were getting graded. So this is speculation based off of past things. I can't prove that unless you know. Do you know that that's what they're graded?
I mean, they told me that the new boxes would be 2 or 3 months, I think, is what they said. I'd have to check what they said exactly, but that it's coming up. So if it's coming up and they have to sort them and put them in the box with a bunch of people in a warehouse with the doors open, then like clearly they must be grading them or already have them graded at this point in time. Which would make sense, because I've heard the same thing. I've heard people saying, like, what the hell, CGC's so slow right now, and the PSA is faster than CGC.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Which makes sense.
I don't grade
Maybe
with CGC,
we'll see a CGC
so I don't know.
Instagram post where they'll be like, we graded 250,000 cards. Or something like that. I don't know what the actual run size is going to be. But
Yeah. But can you imagine if that card doesn't get pulled on camera? Or can you imagine if that card... So, shout out to Dan Catchmall Collectibles. When he was at one of the cons, I think it was Collecticon... I don't remember which one. But either way, when they had like the very early releases, they were handing out the sealed slabs to people. He has one of those sealed Mega Mystery slabs on his display behind him. It's not open. In theory, the odds of that Charizard being in there, if you go off of what they say, the percentage... of that card being in there is the same percentage of any of the other ones that existed, right? So what if hypothetically Dan's that he has in his sealed display behind him and he has no plans to open that? What if that was a Charizard? So then I got to ask you, Rattle. So what happens if the Charizard is never pulled because it was sitting behind Dan and Dan doesn't open it for 10 years from now? What's like the market's reaction to something like that?
I think the biggest like indicator is the fact that like you just wouldn't be opening, you wouldn't be there right in front of people, like giving them boxes, influencers, or anything like that if the odds were just as good on that box you gave them. Whether it's Radar, whether it's Chum Lee, and there's a couple other people that they like posted videos of them opening these cards. And then also he was in stream, like on drip, like he was under SB. Sean Bassick buying these boxes for people. I don't know if they weren't selling or what was going on, but like on Dr. Applesauce's drip stream, Sean was in there buying boxes for people. So like, if he buys a box for someone, what happens if the Charizard comes out of that? Like how rigged does that look? It looks incredibly rigged.
Oh God.
So if you're like, why would you take that risk at any point?
Makes no sense. Why would you take the risk? Like, what's the best case scenario? I mean, the best case scenario is you don't pull it, right? Or is the best case scenario you pull it and you pull the hit?
But you're trying to show people that they're good, but they're I don't know. And then like the whole thing, like to top it all off, is the fact that like I don't know if we have like a scrubbed TikTok. The fact that it happened on TikTok is also kind of... So, there's a lot of like suspicious details. It's just like, what the hell? Like, it's on TikTok. How does TikTok not have replays? You can buy stuff on TikTok and unless the person that's selling you the stuff decides to post the replay, you don't get to see it ever. Not to mention the fact that individual apparently was working for someone else, but then moved. They were both selling these Omega boxes, but then he decided to go off on his own, and then all of a sudden he goes off on his own. He has no content published. He doesn't have any Instagram or any videos of previous streams or anything like that and pulls it. So like, I don't know. I mean, if you're gonna do it, I guess TikTok would be the way. Like, you don't have to have a whatnot stream that you hide because it's already hidden by default.
I don't know. All I'm saying, Rattle, is the risks that were taken by buying your own product are just astronomical.
That's like, it's like buying into a brake. You would just never do it. Like, why would you buy into your own brake? If you're gonna, like, if I'm gonna open a vintage booster box and I'm gonna charge people to enter into it,
Yep. And then
I get like a big hit, like,
Charizard.
I'm not gonna take the risk that I get like the Charizard out
Yeah.
of the base set box. Like, why would I do that?
Mm-mm.
It would look terribly rigged.
Oh.
Why would you ever take that risk?
Imagine if like PokeRev did something like that.
Yeah,
You know,
he's like, oh, I'm taking one pack from every booster box or whatever, and like you guys can buy the other 35. And then he pulls the big hit. Like, there's no winning.
No, it's lose-lose. It's a weird, you know, I don't know. In my opinion, I feel like the business partners in that would be like, what are you doing? Do you know like the dangers of this? Or at least from like a public perception. I mean, there's already heat on those products based off of just like the
maybe there
videos that
wasn't
have
at
been
the
made.
time, like when they first came out. Like, it was just another. I mean, all mystery products are typically predatory to some extent, but like,
It's dangerous. Dangerous, man. You put your credibility on the line, you put your name on the line, you put your business on the line, you put the future of that product
Even
on the
if
line, you put on futures of ways in the future. Like, if that card is pulled by Sean when allegedly you said he was buying buying mystery slabs on people's, if that is pulled, like whether or not that was just odds and he got super lucky and he just pulled it, the optics of it would be, I don't even know. I feel like people would talk about it forever.
right.
Would it go down in history? Even in like,
I mean, and it would make for like an easy video for me. I'd just be like, what the hell?
I think it would make for
This
easy
guy that's
videos on
buying
everybody.
boxes from Sean has Sean go into the chat and buy his own boxes for people as a giveaway, and they all of a sudden magically find a big hit.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's the most dangerous thing that in my opinion, that I've ever seen anyone do. If what they're saying is true, and I believe Gemmit when he says that Charizard was in there. If that is true, and I believe him, to put yourself in that position, in my opinion, is crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I mean, it's one thing to like even risking like sending stuff to people. If you have mystery products of any kind and you're sending them to influencers and that influencer pulls like the big thing or one of the biggest things, like you're gonna have people saying that it was rigged, but then also like it hurts the product because one of the big things that they could have pulled is not in there anymore.
Yeah. Never. I mean, I would never do that. I don't even. That's not playing Monday morning quarterback because it didn't get pulled by him. But I would never. Can't even imagine. I can't imagine putting myself in that scenario. And it does make me worried
do you
about
put it back at that point?
like the people around though that are allowing that to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody sit down and like have a conversation and being like, that is the most, because how many people are involved? There's multiple employees, right?
I don't know. I don't know if I don't know how many are actual employees and how much is like hired contractors.
So yeah, I don't know how
because
many
they're like assembling them in
livelihoods you're
Dallas
putting
and
on the
stuff like
risk,
that.
but,
I don't think anyone there is on the
now
is making a salary or anything like that. They're just box
and the dangerous
assemblers.
the dangerous part too then is a lot of people are going to do the speculation. Again, this is in my opinion that people are going to speculate. They're going to speculate, well, you don't have to worry about it being pulled when you buy it if you actually know where the Charizard is the entire time. That's going to be the speculation that people are going to do in that situation because then there is no risk. You're not putting your business on the line. You're not putting your name on the line. You're not putting all your business partners' names on the line. You're not doing any of that stuff if you always knew where the Charizard was the entire time, so you never had to worry about that being pulled. But then that conversation shouldn't even be allowed to be taking place. But because you put yourself in a position, though, where you're opening up this product, you allow that conversation to even be invited into the conversation. I don't get it. I don't know. Is anybody at home listening to this, and does this make sense? Like, the optics of the owner or one of the main partners pulling that, like...
Oh, they finally made a post about how it was pulled.
Did they?
Yeah. Oh, I can't believe it was pulled, and we didn't hear about it, even though...
Fargus dropped to the 5 memberships, and then Local List Collects put a comment. He said, like the 1 of 1 ring, no recording, but it was pulled. So the 1 of 1 ring, like, yeah, it was. We at least know it was pulled, but in theory, what if it never gets pulled? What if somebody picked it up as a sealed product, play? They put that booster box in their collection. Like, what happens with the 1 of 1? What does that sealed product do? The prices probably would have went crazy.
That was the redemption for us Canadians with the McDonald's scam. With the the monopoly that was rigged and none of the winners went to Canada.
So Cody Driver said, 1 big hit is a big tell. I'd be more inclined to trust a game if the big hit came out early, but then why play? Ideally, the lottery mystery should have multiple big chases. So you can make the argument that, though, Mega Mystery, I think they had 5 big chases maybe were on the front of the box.
Yeah, Dr. Applesauce said there was a few dozen gold stars, but there were 15. A few dozen is not 15, last I checked, and they were all gold star dogs.
I mean...
Which Sean Bassick may or may not have had an abundance of.
So wait,
may or may not have come from the card house binders.
So wait, you said that there was only 15 and Dr. Applesauce said a couple dozen?
He said a few dozen.
A few dozen. So he
was arguing with people in the
payroll
comments after he said, well, I mean, he's clearly contracted with them that he's buying these mystery boxes from them, right?
Why would he?
He's also going out to the same conventions as Sean, so.
Why would he put his name on the line, putting out false information then?
If he didn't have something on the line.
Yeah,
if he wasn't selling
these
gain,
why he got flack something like that.
He got flack for selling those boxes, probably.
But like, why?
And so
that's gross.
He was following the streamer, the very small streamer that had 100 people watching him pull this Charizard, which is also weird. And then he immediately had a photo of it, even though there wasn't any video posted by the person that pulled it. You would think if you pulled that, you'd be immediately posting.
Dude, that's fucking gross. So you're gonna tell me that he
was lying to people saying there was a few
dozens
dozen
of a chase card in there, and he fucking told.
It's on
he's
video.
a seller of this product, and he was lying about how many of them existed. That's fucking
the Omega
gross.
account told me 20 to 30. They think, but here's the video and check for yourself.
Oh, that's fucking so gross.
Yeah, when I asked them about buying some of these, they said 20 to 30, but here's the video if you want to check. You check the video and there's 15. There's 5 of each of the Gold Star dogs. Because they highlight all the big stuff and then they show you the giant stacks of sub-dollar TCG player cards.
Oh. I made a video the other day and the title of the video was morality in Pokemon. What the fuck does your morality have to be? If there's only
you're just
15
banking on
gold
the
stars
fact...
and you're selling that mystery product, if what you're saying is true, you're selling that mystery product. You're fucking lying to people for a product you're selling. That's... Listen, this...
I mean, it's like when they're quoting numbers and they're saying, oh, there's about this and this. You know exactly how many there are. You could run a spreadsheet and just sort, even if you don't know all the cards, because allegedly, according to the people that were contacted to send these cards directly to CGC, not to anywhere else, so they could check them beforehand. No, send the whole package straight to CGC. However many cards you're selling in bulk, most of which under $1 or $1 a piece for WotC.
I'm still disgusted
stuff.
by the fact that you could be selling a mystery product and lie about. But I guess if that's the case,
I mean, if you're gonna tell me that it's 20 to 30, and then reference the video and tell me to check the video, maybe you should check the video and give me that exact number.
it's gross. Do you?
Because like I was asking if I could buy them, so they're trying to like oversell this product to me, because I'm asking about like what hits are left, and they're like, oh yeah, there's still gold stars. And I was like, okay. Dr. Applesauce said there was a few dozen gold stars. Are there a few dozen gold stars? And I had to ask twice before they told me 20 to 30, and sent me a link to the video where I could check myself. Maybe I don't check myself. Maybe that's their backup. They don't have to tell me the real number. They can exaggerate. They can double the number on the high end.
So you're being lied to
And-
by them as well.
As somebody that was looking to purchase from them, I wanted to buy beta boxes. 'Cause I mostly wanted to know
So
if they had beta boxes left, because it showed sold out on their website. So
the-
essentially, they're sold out of this product, and the Charizard appears.
Well, their answer to you was 20 to 30, right? So that means, based off of their answer, in my opinion, they don't know the answer, right? Because they only gave
Yeah.
you a range, 20 to 30. They didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
They said to check the video. So by them saying check the video, in my opinion, that means that the video is the definitive answer, correct?
Right.
So they don't know the answer is 20 to 30. And then the actual definitive answer, based off of their suggestion to you, was check the video. The video says 15. What?
I think
the
those
fuck?
were in the video
Why
we
are
put on
people allowing
YouTube.
this to
20 or
happen?
30. Let me get you a link. They said, I think 20 or 30.
I think. So they didn't know. I think means I don't know.
I think those were in the video we put on YouTube. 20 or 30. Let me get you a link. So they didn't give me a definitive answer, but I mean, that's
Well, they
something that
didn't
they
know.
probably
They said
know.
they think. They don't. I think 20 to 30, that's
Why,
the range. They don't
why are you
have
gonna
an
link
answer.
me? Why are you gonna link me the video though, and not just check it yourself? You should be able to skim through and find it. I could pretty easily.
That is... What the fuck
I mean,
is going on?
they go through real quick on the stuff that's like, 30 cents, 25 cents a piece. But then when it comes to like showing the hits, they slow down a little bit and show all the gold stars. Dogs. Gold star dogs.
I don't know.
And I specified too, I said not including Greninja. In case they were trying to like pad the numbers there a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I hope they weren't counting Gold Star Greninjas because
No. I put in brackets that were like not including Greninja, by the way.
Okay, because I have a big pile of Greninjas over there.
Oh no, I put in brackets real ones, not Greninja. I don't know if the dogs count as real ones either after the binders, but so I don't know who was running. I tried to ask who was running the Instagram account or who was responding to me, because I'd like to give them a nice commission or recommendation if they're the ones selling me 50 cases, but they wouldn't answer me. So I don't know if it was some combination of Sean or someone else, but they thought it was too much of an interrogation for them. They had to talk to me on the phone because I had to ask them things multiple times. Because I was basically I was like, why are you trying to hide like how many are left?
Yeah.
And they didn't like that. Because I was like, I want to make a purchase. If I want to make a purchase, and it needs to be an educated one, I need to know like what kind of big hits are left in these and how many are left. How many do you guys have? Because they wouldn't even tell me like necessarily where they were coming from until I kind of pushed some more, and they said that they had to come from Kraken hits.
Huh.
Basically, they had to buy them. They had to buy them back from Kraken hits in order to fill my order. If they could arrange it, they didn't know. They didn't know for certain or anything like that. But No one else. They said no one else had 50 cases. So essentially, the only person that has 50 cases or more, which is pretty low. I mean, I don't know how spread out these are exactly, but the only person that has 50 cases or more is 15% of the run. That's approximately.
So, again,
According to what they have listed on Whatnot, or had at the time.
why would you even lie? Why, like, all the questions you had, like, why wouldn't you just answer them though? This is the stuff
Yeah.
that's like
Why are you
not
hiding
adding
the
up for me. It's
remainder?
like, just
Like,
be transparent. Like,
yeah,
am I that disconnected for how these businesses work that you can't just be transparent? Like,
yeah.
how many do you have left? This is the
And
number.
they wouldn't have said any of that if I wasn't contacting them to purchase.
But I don't get
Can you
it.
imagine?
Like,
They would have immediately just shut down the conversation. Like, it got to the point that like I was asking too difficult of questions, or maybe they thought that I was prying too hard on like what was remaining. Because why do you hide what's remaining? If it's sold out, it's sold out.
yeah. Like, I'm trying to think of another mystery product, and the only other real big mystery product I could think of is like Pokérev's mystery packs. When you go on his
Can
website,
you imagine if you ask him how many are left,
well, when you go on
and he
his
says, "No, I
website, it
can't
says
tell
sold
you."
out.
And
It does. It says
yeah,
sold out. Like, you could email him and be like, "Hey, it says
Mhm.
sold out on your website. How many do you have left?" He's gonna go, "Well, if my website says sold out, they're sold out." And then you
Yeah,
could
he's not
ask
gonna
him,
be
be
like,
like,
"Oh well, let me see. I can maybe get some back from somebody
"Yeah," and then
if
you
you
could
want."
ask him. You'd be like, "Well, what were the print runs and stuff?" He'll tell you.
Yeah,
Like,
because I was like, maybe I should just wait till the next one, and they're like, "Oh no, that's 2 or 3 months out. We can get you some beta ones."
I just don't see the point. I don't. Why does any of this have to be a secret? Like,
No, it doesn't.
does
It
it?
shouldn't.
How does it
It
affect the
shouldn't have to be.
business? Like, I don't.
Right, especially if it's somebody that's looking to purchase.
Yeah.
If it's someone looking to purchase, why can't you just tell them how many are remaining? Oh, I mean, like clearly you don't have the exact number,
Ah.
but you can't tell them like until like they ask you a few times. You can't tell them like that. Oh, well, one of our sellers might be able to get some over to you or anything like that.
So, Just Average Jess said, yes, PK, most businesses do not have your best interest or safety in mind. All they have in mind is making more money for shareholders so their stock goes up or they pay more money. 90% of business operate this way, possible even more. Jeff, Just Average Jeff, please send me whatever report you read that's give you that 90%. Or is that one of those, I just wrote 90% because I made up 90%?
If you make up a percentage, people are more likely to believe
Yeah,
you, kind of thing.
69% of all facts are made up, including that one. But please, whatever report that said 90% of businesses operate this way, please send me that report. I would love to read it and understand where these
Exactly
numbers are
90%.
coming
Right?
from.
But yeah, I don't know. It's just it's a. I mean, the entire thing is a lack of transparency, and it's my opinion that there's a lack of transparency on all of this stuff. Whether it's the sheets being cut up, whether it's the mystery boxes, whether it's CGC advertising for people and not mentioning who they're advertising for, whether it's CGC having turnaround times that are garbage and not saying, hey, by the way, guys, 200,000 of our 240,000 alleged submissions are not from you guys. They're from one person.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's greed, but that's the lack of transparency is entirely by design. It's a lot of things that like you're just like, what the hell? Why can't they be transparent on this stuff? And they're not transparent for a reason. Probably, in my opinion.
Do you think you're transparent to a fault?
Yeah, probably. I mean, there's a lot of times where I have takes where I think that like if I toned down my take or if I catered to a more like general audience or I told people what they wanted to hear, that I would be more successful. 100%.
I always wonder that too. If like,
It's like no one wants to hear that they get ripped off, or that they made a poor decision, or that like the grading company that they spent a ton of money sending cards to is like fucked essentially. Like no one wants to hear them. And that's the thing too, like I wonder how many times I cut my audience into pieces just by saying, like, making a video about how like PSA fucked up or like CGC fucked up. Because in those videos, even people are like, "Oh, why are you always picking on CGC?" Like, I'm not.
Oh yeah.
I've made videos about all of them. I'm gonna call out their flaws. I will say when they do something good. I have said when they do something good. I mean, it's usually not as often as the bad stuff, but
yeah. Well, you are probably going to make a video talking about that potentially trimmed Charizard that we talked about earlier today, and then people are going to say, "How come you're always talking shit about PSA? You never talk shit about CGC." And then when you talk shit about CGC, just like you said, people will be like, "You're always talking shit about CGC. You never talk shit about PSA." I'll give you an example.
Go back like 10 videos, like, and you probably find one.
People will watch this video and they'll be at home being like, "Fucking all PK ever does is talk shit about CGC. He never talks shit about PSA." And they'll be watching this video right now and they will be thinking that thought. And you could literally go on my community post that I posted today to every single one of my followers showing that PSA potentially graded a miscut first edition PSA 10 Charizard. And people will just fucking ignore that. And the reason they'll ignore that is because that doesn't fit their narratives. And I feel like a lot of people like to ignore stuff that doesn't fit their narrative. So I really do try to like look at shit from both sides, whether people believe that or not. And people will still, even though I mentioned again that I made a community post to all my followers showing a potentially misgraded fucking PSA 10 first edition Charizard, they're still at home being like, "Nah, PK only hates fucking CGC because he's trying to protect his investments or something." That's what they're, even though I say that, there's some people you'll never be able to change, but I don't know. That was a little tangent.
Yeah, I don't. That's another thing. I get. That's another one of those, like, I don't even want to call them like talking points or like things to like that people try to like dismiss opinions. I've seen a lot from like the David person end or whatever, like where he'll go on about like, "Oh yeah, so and so has like this grading company in their best interest," and that, so they talk shit about the other ones. So it's like, am I like the perfect example for that? Because I don't want to grade cards with any of them.
Yeah.
So I'll rip on them equally, but it's almost similar to the let's just label something drama, so that we can dismiss it as like not a valid opinion or not valid research or anything like that. Oh, it's just drama content. Well, is it only drama content because it's pointing a flaw in whatever you're doing or pointing to something shady that you're involved with?
Well, that's the thing they'll say about you, Rattle. They'll be like, "Oh, you only make drama content." But then right after the whole Sean's shit that happened, literally the video right after that lawsuit one was you doing gameplay stuff, right?
Yeah.
It was you playing like the TCG. It was the first time I've seen you play the TCG in a while. And then all of last month, you and Blasty, what were you? I don't even remember. What game were you playing?
Playing Ruby and Sapphire.
You were playing Ruby and Sapphire for how many lives? How many hours in the last month did you just play Game Boy gameplay through an emulator on your computer? Like,
whoa. It wasn't emulator though.
oh, it wasn't? Oh, look at that. Never mind. But how many hours of that was there,
Yeah,
So-
there's quite a bit.
And then you did how many pack openings between all these different... And you just as recently went through how many ETBs of Paldean Fates?
Yeah, we did like an
30?
opening stream and everything like that. It's just like...
In the last 2 months, you've done
like
a ton of
everyone will be
gameplay
like,
through
"You
the
always
game.
do this."
You've done a ton of actual TCG gameplay through Pokemon Live. You've done pack openings. And they'll be like, "Rattle only does drama," and it's like, what about the other things I just said? And they're like,
Yeah, but-
"Oh, I don't watch those videos." That would be their answer. It'd be like, "Oh yeah, I don't watch that shit." It'd be like, well, if you only watch the drama videos, then yeah, that's all.
Yeah. But I mean, that's the thing too. Or it's just like it's labeling that it can be like a serious investigation video or something like that. And it's just like, oh, I disagree with it, or I want to dismiss it as drama, just so that I can like feel better about I'm just gonna call it that, so people label it something that it's not.
Yeah.
Like, is the Blake stuff drama? Are we gonna call it drama, or are we gonna call it important information that's an investigation or whatever you want to call it that isn't drama? Is it drama in the sense that like, oh, it's exciting, like, oh, he's exposed whatever?
Well,
I don't know. It's not the same drama. It's not the same drama as like oh, so and so sucks. I hate the fact that they have plushies in the background. It's stupid. Or like, you're gonna dismiss it as something that like you're gonna downplay it to something that's like made up or less credible and call it drama.
Yeah.
Is basically what people are trying to do.
Well, go back to the Logan Paul thing. What happened during the Logan Paul?
Yeah.
Like, you had a lot of people came out of the woodwork, and they defended like
Yeah.
that box being real. A lot of those people that defended that box being real really weren't vested in that box. There was obviously the clear culprits who were super vested in that box, and they were defending it. But there was a lot of people had no skin in the game whatsoever when it came to like the validity of that box and being real. And they like all said you were full of shit and like that your information was false and all this, and it was like you only had to watch that video one time and you knew it was fake. It wasn't like I know you made the other videos after the fact when you did the barcode shit and stuff, like those were the later videos, but after that first video it was, in my opinion, like definitively fake, and it ended up being fake. But people were still saying it was going to be real. And it was like, you guys got no skin in the game. Like, why are you defending this?
I don't know.
But
what was that guy's name? He had a video recently where he was like ripping people off with his consignment business. Is it Charizard King 24 or some stupid shit like that?
Oh, yeah.
He chimed up recently. He's like, "Oh yeah, Rattle getting sued. It's about time or whatever." It's like, so you're gonna jump on the Sean Bassick train because I called you out for you. There's screenshots. There's you bragging about how you got more money for this thing than you paid out on to the customer, and like, what ground do you have to stand on here? How many people did you do that to beforehand? Like, so I've seen a lot of that recently. A lot of the like sketch dog 69s that just want to like a leapfrog on. Like, see, Rattle's not always right. He's in the wrong here. This is different this time. So you're like, when you see like the bad guys assemble.
Does it bother you? Let me ask you, does it bother you? Because it bothers me a little bit, like when people are just, I don't know if it's just being ill-informed or if it's just they put the blinders on so much that they just want to hear. Does it bother you though? Because
what do they want to hear? They want to hear that like it's safe and there's like nothing to worry about?
No, it just doesn't bother you that that like you can never be right. No matter how much information you put out there, no matter what you do, it's just like, oh, you're always wrong. I don't
know. There's certain scenarios, like, depending on who it is, like the J Boys, people wanted the J Boys to be wrong. Do people necessarily, like, there's probably some percentage of people that want Logan to be involved with the fake case and Liquid Marketplace and in on it all along. Then there's like, I don't know. There's a lot of people that didn't like Blake. So does it make it easier for people to believe that, like, okay, Blake did this stuff? Like, clearly there was example after example where they're all doing the same thing, where you have mappable energies, provable mappable energies. And you have Snee pulling cards off the screen where you can just watch the replay if you find enough of it.
Yeah.
But, like, that's the thing. It's just, like, with the Sean stuff, like, does no one really give a shit? Then you get people like Poga NE that say, like, oh, Rattle was asking for it. Shit like that. But I don't know. I think like that's the thing. Is just like you got to stand up to any of it. It doesn't matter if it's exciting because it's an ex NFL player that's potentially ripping people off, allegedly ripping people off to the point that he gets kicked off the platform that he's the face of. Or if it's somebody that's just behind the scenes that you never hear about, that's threatening people to stay quiet, and you never hear about it for that reason. Or the people that are promoting it or not saying anything because they're either financially benefiting from it, if they're selling his boxes, if they're hanging out at conventions, if they're getting paid out, if they're working for him. So
I want to ask you. So let me ask you for
what's more important.
Let me ask you for whatnot, right?
Yeah.
So, in your opinion, could a whatnot ever like be a platform that you would support? Because we've already, in my opinion, again, this is all everything I said on this channel from the beginning to now to the end till the day I fucking die will always be my opinion for anybody out there watching this, especially if your first name is Sean. But you know, I think a lot of people talked about like the Twice Baked Jake stuff. I made the morality video. I think you mentioned it. Possum Bud made it. There's a lot of other channels talked about it. But I think a lot of people miss the point of that, where the point of that video wasn't, nobody was really like, in a way, like, I think people were like, oh, people were mad at Jake or whatnot. And I don't think anybody was really mad at him. It was just, a lot of people were just pointing out the fact that it was like kind of contradictory. Like, he was very anti whatnot for a long time. And then it appeared to a lot of people, in my opinions, a lot of other people's opinions, like, he didn't change his tune until he got that big bag. He got that paycheck from whatnot, and he's getting money to change his opinion. And I think that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, because it was then, okay, you never liked this platform. Nothing about this platform in a lot of people's opinion has changed, but now that they're giving you money, your personal opinion has changed, and now you're saying this positive. That's how it came off to a lot of people. Now, on the other end of that spectrum, because a lot of people feel nothing has changed, does whatnot ever get to the point where you do support a whatnot? Because I made my morality video, and in my video, I literally said to people, I said, I cannot sell on eBay Live. I can't. I don't know how to even contact eBay to become a seller, but you better bet your ass. If eBay Live ever becomes an option, I'm going to be streaming on eBay Live. And the reason I'm going to stream on eBay Live is because I'm going to go try to make money. And I guarantee you, if that day ever comes, which it's not, because I can't if I wanted to, but when that day comes, people will still say that I sold out to eBay, even though I've now said it on multiple videos that I would if that ever became an option, because I like eBay as a platform, and I don't want to talk about eBay because it just sounds like I'm shilling them, and I'm not getting sponsored to shill them, but I like eBay for other reasons. And that's because I feel eBay hasn't fucked up yet when it comes to the live stream platform. I feel like so far they're doing it the way I would hope. Super small seller pool. They're kind of getting out all those issues right now. Now, the same way as I said I would stream on eBay because I like eBay as a platform and they haven't fucked up, does whatnot ever get in your good graces again? Is there ever a day that Rattle Pokemon says, you know what, guys? I think it's time to give whatnot a second shot. The same way as you've now given PWCC a second shot, but PWCC also got bought out by a new owner, so big caveat.
Yeah, that's... I mean, I still highly doubt. Like, it would be like a cold day in hell when I ever purchase something or stream on whatnot, outside of it being like for the memes or something. Like, just go on there and not sell anything. I don't know how that would even be funny, but we just want to keep that available just in case it would be. But, like, I don't know. It's short of them, like, retroactively going back and making the changes that they need to. I mean, not even everyone that was involved with the Blake stuff was banned. Including, like, Craig, that was BFF for life. And apparently had all these complaints and everything else. So, like, if they would like to show, like, I find it very hard to believe with all the inside, like, information that I received from people that worked with Blake, from people that worked internally at whatnot, that he wasn't in on the entire thing, that he wasn't making money off of it and or doing favors. So I don't know. I don't like. Not to mention the fact that they still haven't refunded everyone from the Blake stuff. They just kind of put out a statement saying they refunded everyone impacted, told everyone to submit things, so they didn't refund everyone impacted. So they're full of shit from like the get-go. Damage control for the like dumbass media that's going to like repeat that everyone was refunded for it, do what they got to do, and then make it extremely difficult for people to get their money back if they even did at all. And then they do like special gifts for their streamers. They're sending out packs and boxes and whatever the fuck for Christmas to these people streaming on their platform, and then they're paying contracts to get people on the platform.
Big contracts.
When they had the chance, they had the fucking chance to do the right thing and clean up the platform. There's no, I don't. How many videos do I have of people like on camera, caught fucking red-handed, ripping people off on stream, on video, and they're still not banned?
Well, let me ask you your biases, Rattle, real quick. So does that mean it's just a whatnot thing, or is it? Are you just anti any pack open in any streaming?
I mean, like, TikTok right now, like, the fact that they don't have replays is a real fucking blemish on their rattle score, if we'll call it that. But, like, clearly it was a hypothetical good option if you wanted to have something pulled or do something that there's no way to see the replay on it. Maybe you can report it, and someone might go through the footage on their end, on the TikTok end. I don't know how their support is exactly. Whatnot has been not great because usually people report stuff a billion times before they send it to me, which is kind of what you should do. Like, give them a chance to make it right before.
But it goes back to the question, do you think that there can be no live streaming platform then? Do you think that it's not possible in just Pokemon then?
In Pokemon in general?
Yeah, just in general.
It needs to be like extremely vetted. Like, it needs to be like criminal background check. It needs to be like someone that doesn't have nothing to lose and can just like rip people off and take off. Because if you're not going to pursue them afterwards, like if someone's just going to go on there and rip people off, and like maybe you refund some of the people that realize that they got scammed, because they have to tell you that you're not going to go in there and proactively find out who they scammed and refund people if you're not going to refund all the Blake people.
So you
think they have time for that? Like they barely have time to ban people that have been like caught on stream.
Well, I guess
scamming people.
The question I'm asking is it possible for a platform to even be like possible then in this? Because it
would have to be super vetted. It would have to be extremely vetted. There would be no gambling, because it's weird to me that they can even do any of that shit. Like even the magician shit where you're guessing a card, like it's just gambling. It's unregulated, unlicensed gambling. It's wild to me that it's existed as long as it has. Because, I mean, it's there in the underground of the Facebook and of the Instagram and stuff like that, where you have razzle dazzles, mix wazzles, because they can't call it a raffle or they can't call it a lottery because Facebook will flag that. But it's illegal gambling.
If you had, all right, so let's say you're in charge of new sellers. Like, what would be if in order of my vetting process, what would be your vetting process? Like, these would be the most basic requirements in order to stream. So you said criminal background check. That makes sense. I feel like that's an easy one.
I mean, I feel like you should already have, like, if you're eBay, you should be basing it off someone's eBay history, their selling history.
Sure. That makes sense.
If someone's a big enough seller, if they have a ton of positive feedback, never any issues, and they're selling mainly that. Like, it's not like some account from overseas that's been selling Tupperware for years and all of a sudden they want to sell trading cards. Like, it should be pretty easy to vet people, because anyone that's a real seller of Pokemon cards, in my opinion,
sense. You got a huge track record.
you have you have a pretty big eBay. Whether you're buying or selling on eBay, you've been using eBay.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way around it. It's what you use. The people that aren't using eBay, the people that are trying to avoid fees, that are trying to dodge taxes or whatever they're doing.
Would that be on other platforms? Would you use eBay as a metric for, say, Whatnot? To be like, you've not, even though you've never sold on Whatnot, you've sold on eBay, so we need to see that, because would that be like a requirement that you...
I don't think it'd be like an unreasonable like expectation.
No, it would make sense. Like, if you're in this hobby and not selling on eBay, you got 0 eBay presence. It's like, how did you make it this long? You know?
Yeah.
You
got banned from eBay how many times? Or
yeah.
You got how many negative feedback for?
That makes sense.
But like, that's the thing. Is just like eBay can survive regardless because eBay is eBay and it's not their primary business model. With Whatnot, if they want to produce numbers, they need quantity of sellers. They need as many sellers as possible. They need them moving as much stuff as possible. So they love a Blake. They love a whoever else. I mean, I don't know what was going on with the fees exactly, that whether they were paying them or not. It was still advertising. It was still getting more people on there, more people buying, transactions happening on the platform. Whether people came for Blake and went somewhere else and bought other stuff too, they're incentivized by having more people on there. They're incentivized to not ban people, as long as they're not like getting caught ripping people off. Or if they do get caught, then to have them still on there and not permaban them, which, I'm sorry, but if you're caught stealing from customers, think of a retail scenario.
Or any
You're
scenario.
pickpocketing people and you're working at Walmart and you're ripping people off.
Yeah.
You're taking out, you're shortchanging them or anything like that.
Doesn't
Like,
have to be Walmart.
you're gone.
Any job.
That is you're not working at Walmart anymore. Like any example like that, you don't. If you're caught ripping off the customers, it looks bad on the company itself. And I don't know, they want to trudge through it. But also just like the gambling end of things is just like completely out of control on there. And people are like, oh yeah, but I want to gamble. I don't know. You can go to a casino and the odds are against you there, but at least they're not rigged. You can know that.
Yeah, I mean,
but
they're rigged in the sense that you know the odds, right? Like every single casino game, maybe not slots.
They are what they are.
Yeah,
it's
any
not like
table
a
game, you say,
false
okay,
sense of
math, like the math doesn't lie, right? Like numbers are numbers. Pokemon, there is no numbers. You could open up one pack of Evolving Skies, you could pull that Moonbreon on the first pack, or you could open up 2,732 or whatever you opened, and then you could pull it on that one. But you look like you gotta take a piss. I look like I gotta take a piss.
Yeah.
So
you want first?
You want to call it for
Ramble.
a night? You want to end the?
We can if you want.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a
Or we
good
can
chat.
both
I
piss
feel like we
and come back
tackled
running mad.
We tackled a lot of subjects. We tackled the Charizard. We tackled your lawsuit, kinda. We tackled the Time magazine. Listen, and
there's a
gotta
lot of
save
things
stuff
going
for
on.
next month, right?
Too much. It feels like the pandemic all over again.
Yeah. But for everybody out there, if you guys do not know, it is Friday at the time of recording this video. Tomorrow night is Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There'll be the Rattle Happy Hour chat. So if you guys ever want to come hang out and just open some packs or just talk, Rattle will be in there. I'll be hopping in later Saturday night around 9 p.m. after I put my kids to bed. That's the time when I can, I like to hop in. But there will be a link for the Rattle Discord, and then number one mod in the game, Drew, he's on top of it. He already dropped a link for the Rattle Discord. But yeah, Rattle, look like you're about to piss yourself. You got any final say?
I need to pee real bad. All right. Have a good night.
All right. Later, guys. Love you. Bye-bye.
See you in the Discord. Bye.
Go pee-pee. Bye, guys. Love you.